classical doctrine, but he also has the caveat that it's not accepted by all classical courts, so there's that thrown in there. So you have a promise for promise offer. And you cannot accept by performance, that's true. You can accept by promise, or this doctrine is implied performance, or I'm sorry, implied promise by performance. So you're performing, but you're not accepting by performance. That performance is impliedly a promise.
No.
So it's still promise for promise.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, okay, so the promise, the offer is to paint the garage, the whole garage, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So if I show up and I paint like 20%, and then the offerer shows up and he's like, well, I thought you were supposed to call me, and I'm like, well, I'm here and I've started, so this is an implied promise by performance. That would be an acceptable way to accept the offer. What if I paint the whole thing before you see it? So you offer me today,
Okay.
and you say that you're gonna hold that offer open for 2 weeks, and you tell me
So you're saying, so you're throwing in a little option?
no, but I mean, that's not even like, that doesn't even matter, that's just because it says here on the offer.
Okay.
But, I say, well, I offer you $800 if you promise to paint my garage with your paint, and the painting to be done sometime within the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow, I show up, I don't know how, but I managed to enter your house and paint your garage without you seeing it,
Yeah.
and then I finish the job, which was as requested, because it was within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you come back home and you see that I fully performed what you requested.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I was expecting your call, because I told you that you could only accept my offer by promising me that. What I'm asking is, that full performance, would that make a contract formed? Or because the promise specifically said that it could only be accepted by another promise, it doesn't matter what he did. It doesn't matter if he painted the whole garage. That's what I'm asking.
I think that's a classical contract, because, the doctrine.
Squarely implied promise
May
by
I
performance.
try to, I think I understand what she's asking, just maybe I'll say another words and then. Is it the same thing, implied promise to perform partly?
Part or
perform
from the whole thing?
Yeah, the question
There's
is,
a-
yes.
There's a line somewhere where your part performance becomes enough to be an implied promise.
When is it enough?
Well, that's
20%, that's something, I don't remember that
20% is probably.
he has, so I'm guessing he gave you this example, I'm thinking I remember this right, where you have like, maybe this was a case, where you have this lawn company or construction company that they contracted to build a house, this is in the realm of implied promise by performance. When is it enough? Is it when they load up their stuff? Is it when they leave their building? Is it when they pull up to the
Right.
construction site? Is it when they start performing? I don't know.
I have the same question, and it will relate to the modern contracts as well. So
Yeah.
right now we're talking about the classic contracts, where.
Yeah, we're just in the realm of classic right
Kind
now.
of understandable, but if we are saying about the modern contracts as well,
Mhm.
where is the line, what section of superstatement second will be applied? If, for example,
You're talking about, see, now you're talking about reliance, and what reliance is enough to constitute 87 and 90. I think so,
right,
yeah.
yeah, when I'm preparing, but it even didn't start yet.
Yeah,
And
if y'all wanna, can wait until after we do this, my amazing graphs up here, flowcharts.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna talk about it.
I'm gonna talk about
Okay,
reliance,
sorry.
this substantial reliance comes up in this problem, actually, I think it does.
The only reason why I'm asking this, like,
Yeah.
if it was like you guys, and that was the exam, the final question in your exam, and he'd asked, could Steve accept his offer simply by painting the garage within the 2 weeks? Would you say he could or
I
not?
would say
I would say he could,
let me see.
but the question is whether or not his painting is enough to give notice to the offeror that it's acceptance, and whether or not, it's just like that whole building the cabinets that case about building the cabinets, if I show up and I've got the right color paint, and I painted all of it to your 50% to your specifications, if I abided by all your terms, then that's enough. But if my performance doesn't include all the things you asked for yet, if like you said you wanted crown molding on the walls, in addition to blue paint, and I had only done the blue paint and I hadn't done the crown molding, then maybe just the blue paint is not enough to accept all of the terms of your offer in a mirror image. So but what we would do on an exam is say that this guy would argue that it is acceptance, because it is a promise-only offer, but performance is a way of promising. And so if his performance was enough like a promise, if he did everything correct within the amount of time offered, it's probably performance, you know?
But, okay, but then the thing is, on this question, we would have to analyze the three possibilities of promise for promise, promise by implied promise, and promise by performance. So I know how promise by promise would be possible, I know how promise by implied promise would also be possible, but when arguing, if promise by performance would be possible, would you say it would or not?
It's not possible.
No, it's not possible.
Yeah. So what you'll first want to say on a problem like this is an offer can only be accepted by, it's got to be mirror image, can only be accepted by the way that it's prescribed. This is a promise for promise, so you have to accept by promise. But some courts will allow that promise to be made via implied performance. Via performance.
Really good, important distinction. It's a great question.
So if you're going through and you say, can it be accepted by performance? The answer is no every time. If the offeror says, I promise to do this if you promise to do this. It can be accepted by performance, but performance or promise, there can be an implied promise via performance. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes, and when we see for promise, is it usually or always says, I promise if you will promise? Or
Yeah, usually.
They can use other words indicating that this is a promise for promise, or.
You could say, I will give you $100 if you give me,
Yeah, isn't that a different?
or if you will give me, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like,
So I guess it should be always like, if you will promise, right?
Yeah, that's what I asked them. I was like, is it correct to say that every time an offer says, I promise if you promise, that's
yeah.
promise for promise always?
And no way to perform.
Yeah, that's true. Is there another way you could have a promise for promise, like wording wise? I think maybe if you say like, I will give you $10 2 weeks from now, if 2 weeks from now you mow, I don't know.
And I think
saying it
right
out
now,
loud.
three possibilities are open automatically if you says the promise like this.
If it's promise for promise,
Like,
I promise to give you $800. You can also say something like, if you wish to accept my offer, call me. Or like, call me and let me know if you accept it. I think
Yeah,
that's an
that's
implied
clearly
way as a promise for
right?
promise.
is that
As
Yeah.
a on call.
clearly?
asking you to call